Hello and welcome to the week in the Middle East. Coming up, France 24 investigates prostitution in the Gulf Emirates, why Iraq's big oil auction didn't go as planned, and all the buzz surrounding the French president's alleged call for the head of Israel's anti-Arab foreign minister. In the Gulf, they don't exist, prostitutes, at least not officially. That makes them even more vulnerable than elsewhere. France 24 went undercover to witness the darker side of the UAE's dazzling nights and met Emiratis who are not afraid to speak out.
An Abu Dhabi nightclub. Loud music, plenty of alcohol and girls. A dozen are here offering their services. They've come from Africa, Asia and Eastern Europe.
Where you come from? Uzbekistan. How much do you want for one night? 800.
800 rials, that's 120 euro, the going rate for sexual relations. 22-year-old Tatiana arrived here from Ukraine in January.
I came here because a friend lied to me. She promised me I'd get a job as a hairdresser with a salary of $3,000 a month, minimum. I trusted her. I gave her my passport for the visa. When I got here, she said, "There's been a change of plans. You'll work as a prostitute." She threatened me and blackmailed me.
Beaten, penniless and with her passport confiscated, Tatiana was forced into prostitution. After 3 months, she found help in this shelter. 20 girls live here with doctors on hand to support them.
What these young girls need is kindness, affection and to be treated well. We are here to help them become more self-confident.
Prostitution is illegal in the Gulf. As a result, it's never visible on the streets. Jean makes his way home at 2 in the morning. This French expatriate is a regular punter.
This is an Islamic country, so it's not visible, but yes, it exists. Some girls came here of their own free will and make up to $10,000 a month. Other girls were told they would be dancers or waitresses in a bar, things like that.
Tatiana is one of those girls. She's now found a safe haven. Her pimp was arrested, the network dismantled. In a few weeks, she'll be heading home.
I'm very happy to be going home. I miss my country, my house, my friends. I hate this country, but I like this place. I know I'll miss it. My whole life, I'll never forget what they did for me here.
But not everyone shares Tatiana's enthusiasm. The woman in charge here used to be a teacher. She enjoys support from the authorities, but the population's attitude is very different.
Some support our action, others don't. Some are ready to admit there's a problem, but others are in denial. We have to recognize that it's a reality. We're here to fight it, or at least stop the situation from getting worse.
In these petrol-rich monarchies, prostitution is the ultimate taboo. But that's beginning to change with the help of an organisation like this one. It's the first of its type and won't solve the problem overnight, but for Tatiana, it's already made a difference.
Coincidence of the calendar? Twist of irony? On the same day U.S. troops officially withdrew to barracks in Iraq, Baghdad was putting 8 major oil and gas fields on the auction block, a way for Iraqis to take their destiny into their own hands. Well, in the end, only one taker. Maybe, some say, they got a little carried away when it came to the asking price.
An oil auction and a historic one. On the 30th of June, Iraqi television broadcast the sale of 6 oil fields and 2 gas fields. It took place 37 years after Saddam Hussein nationalized the Iraqi Petroleum Company.
I bless the day companies compete to win a contract.
Though the Iraqi Prime Minister was confident, the sale turned out to be a disappointment. Only 2 oil companies, China's CNPC and UK's British Petroleum, out of 31 pre-selected, agreed to Iraq's conditions.
The Iraqi government decided not to accept the offers of the other companies as they refused to reduce the remuneration fee from their prices, their quote, to the prices and to the quote which the Ministry of Oil had decided.
Iraq isn't sharing production. It's offering 20-year service contracts with a fee per barrel. The money on offer is too low for the leading oil companies, not least because the oil-producing infrastructure in the country is in poor repair. Foreign companies would have to invest. and as yet there's no protection in Iraqi law for money spent. There are several factors at play in not agreeing to the contracts now, but it will be difficult for oil companies to stay away in the long term. Iraq is an oil El Dorado. Reserves are easy to get at and to export. There is lots and lots of it.
Iraq represents the third largest oil reserves, as you rightly pointed out. There are even some experts who consider that Iraq has more proven oil reserves than Saudi Arabia.
Those reserves mean oil companies will continue to keep their eyes wide open for an inroad into Iraq.
It's the greatest existing opportunity today, aside from Iran. The Iraqi market has been totally eschewed by the international community for the last 30 years. Both parties are desperate into getting back. Oil companies for the resources of Iraq and for the market value that represents, the government for the assets and financial need.
Baghdad hopes that by 2015 it can increase production to between 4 and 6 million barrels a day from the current 2.5 million, and that with the help of foreign companies. The revenue will be vital for national reconstruction and will reassure a part of public opinion which is critical of the government. They say it's selling off oil wealth too cheaply.
According to Amnesty International, it's Israeli soldiers, not Hamas militants, who used civilians as human shields during the Jewish state's 3-week war in Gaza. The soldiers accused of forcing families to stay inside homes they'd taken over as positions. Israel denounces the human rights group's 117-page report. So does Hamas, however, which also stands accused of atrocities.
Indiscriminate killings, the use of human shields, the destruction of homes. Accusations made by Amnesty International in an in-depth report on the recent war in Gaza.
Both sides committed very serious violations of international law, violations of the Geneva Conventions, several of which constitute war crime.
This report claims 1,400 Gazans died during the 22-day offensive. The Israeli military put the death toll at 1,166. There's a dispute over how many of those who died were civilians. Amnesty criticised Israel's use of artillery, white phosphorus and other imprecise weapons in densely populated areas. But the Israeli government rejected the validity of the report.
There is no transparency, no accountability. We don't know who the judges are. Who are the members of the investigation team? We don't know who the witnesses are. Are they working for Hamas? Do they represent any special interest?
But Amnesty also criticised Hamas for its rocket attacks on Israel and for using civilians as human shields. These too were considered war crimes.
This report is not fair nor balanced, and we reject all the accusations to Hamas listed in this report. Second, we remind and affirm that this unprofessional report was published without meeting or listening to any of Hamas leaders or officials.
Other Hamas leaders were more positive about the report, but by criticising the conduct of both sides in the conflict, Amnesty's claims were bound to be controversial.
According to an opinion poll, 45% of Israelis believe Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should take Nicolas Sarkozy's advice and fire ultranationalist Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman. No comment from the French president on remarks leaked to the press during Netanyahu's recent trip to Paris. In fact, according to newspaper Yediot Aharonot, the Prime Minister imposed a gag order on the Israeli ambassador to France not to report back to anti-Arab leader Lieberman. So what did Sarkozy say? He said, "I'm telling you, you need to get rid of that man. Get him out of the government and bring in Livni." No need to exaggerate, responds Netanyahu. Lieberman is a very nice person, and in private conversations he speaks differently. Sarkozy, in private conversations, Jean-Marie Le Pen is also a nice person. Jean-Marie Le Pen, the head of the French far-right. Arab-Israeli members of the Knesset have showered Sarkozy with warm praise. The Jerusalem Post takes issue with Netanyahu, wondering why didn't he ask Sarkozy about replacing the French foreign minister, Bernard Kouchner, with Martine Aubry, the head of the opposition socialists in this country. It's been open for 2.5 years, and it's already something of a Cairo institution, the Nasser City Cafe, that's open only to women. As you're about to see, it's more of an upscale clientele, middle-class women who say they're sick of being chatted up, or of waiters who insist on playing matchmaker.
A rare opportunity to escape from a man's world. 30-year-old Aisha comes to this women-only cafe on most days. For her, a chance to relax and be herself away from the judging eyes of men.
You can be stared at if you talk too loud. You've got to be careful about how you behave. You've got to be serious. But here, I can just be me.
That also means taking off her headscarf, although not in front of the camera. Opened a few months ago in an upmarket part of Cairo, it didn't take long for this cafe to find its market.
I got the idea because I saw there was a demand. I did it to earn money, and I earn a living in a way that conforms with Islam.
The cafe is part of a trend sweeping Egypt's middle-class women, a stricter form of Islam away from men, with roots in Saudi Arabia.
Women feel that it would be better for them to be away from men so that they can act freely, as they told you. So the constraint here is imposed to many women on the basis of a falsely interpreted religious basis.
Aisha, Marwa and their friends see things differently though. For them, it's a personal choice. With the summer holidays just around the corner, they'll soon leave the safety of their cafe for the coast. Their destination, one of the new women-only beaches.
From a woman's secret garden to a 70-year-old Israeli farmer's big brag, we go to Petah Tikva. Itzhak Yazanpana knew he was onto something when he took out the old tape measure and applied it to what we can only call the mother of all cucumbers. Let's see, the Guinness Book of World Records lists an 80-centimeter cucumber. This one is 118 centimeters long. Wow, that's 46.5 inches. But wait, if size does matter, Sharon Halman won't be outdone. In Hod HaSharon, she found this giant sunflower growing in the compost, nearly 4 meters tall. Sadly, it's time to cut short this edition of The Week in the Middle East. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.